Hello! We are going to talk about a video on YouTube. A YouTube video, if you would be so bold as to call it that. That was funnier in my head. Am I funny? I'm funny, right? Anyway, we're going to talk about the banners today for the patch that goes live tomorrow, 2.4 for Honkai Star Rail. In fact, at the time I'm recording this right now, it's probably literally like 25 hours from now the patch will be live, so that's exciting. So I wanted to talk about the two banners that we're going to have in the first phase and the two banners we're going to have in the second phase, my thoughts on it, and maybe what you should do if you want my advice. And by the way, I am not some theory crafter, I make that very clear. I don't have a spreadsheet, I don't do a bunch of math. It's kind of just me telling you what I think about the characters and what I think they'd be good at for your account. Okay, real simple layman's term stuff. Like, I'm not going to give you some super in-depth analysis about the damage ceiling of Yunli compared to, like, another follow-up attack unit or whatever. But let's just kind of go over the elephant in the room, I guess, which is Yunli. She's the new character, and she is really just Clara 2. She is an upgraded version of Clara. They are both children, they are both physical, they are both destruction, and neither of them wear shoes. And I don't know why. That part is kind of weird. Like, it's weird that it happened twice. It would be kind of weird that it only happened once. But it happened twice. And that's a little odd, admittedly. But anyway, she is a counter-focused character, right? She's going to get hit, she wants to have taunt, she wants to get hit in the face with attacks, and she wants to do other attacks back. She is basically, like I said, Clara 2. So if you are a Clara player, I mean, Clara was actually my first 5-star, I got her at the beginning of the game from the beginner banner. So I think she'd kind of be fun to play. I will kind of bury the lead here and tell you I'm actually skipping this patch entirely. We'll talk more about that later. But I could see the fun in pulling Yunli. Something that's actually convenient about her is if you've been building Firefly or Boot Hill and you've been farming the Cavern of Corrosion for their relics, you can use the other set from that relic domain on her, which is good because nobody else really likes that relic set right now. So if you have some good pieces, because of course when you're farming for the other set, you're always going to get good pieces from the set you're not farming, so you probably have like just a full set of double crit pieces just lying around from that set that you're frustrated that you don't have a place to put. You can put them on Yunli if you want, so that's convenient. As for her light cone, you can pull her light cone for her, or you can pull her light cone for Clara if you really just want to be a Clara main and you don't want to pull Yunli. It's going to be Clara's best in slot light cone, I'm pretty sure. So you can go ahead and pull that. It's a pretty good light cone for her and for Clara. Ho-Ho is getting her first rerun. And she is a really, really good sustain unit, right? She's the best abundance character, I guess, in the game for the most part. Not the best sustain unit in the game, because I still think that's Aventurine, but she's the best healer in the game. So that's worth noting. She can buff your team some as well. She's pretty good. And you can also pull her light cone if you want. It's a pretty good light cone. Well, that's some great analysis. Oh, it's a pretty good light cone. You can pull it if you want. That's what you're getting when you click on this video. So yeah, I mean, they're both good units. Yunli will be a good DPS, so if you're needing a new DPS, Yunli is really your only option this patch, because, you know, the other phase of the banner is a Nihility character and a Harmony character, and we'll be talking about them here in a little bit. But, you know, if you want a DPS, get Yunli. If you don't have two premium sustains yet, like if you don't have Fujuan and Aventurine, you know, you don't have whoever it is you're using to keep your team alive, then, you know, you might want to get Ho-Ho. But I will say the one kind of caveat to that is we are getting a new 5-star abundance character in the next patch after this one. So if you want one and you don't really want Ho-Ho, or you want to save, you know, or you want to get Yunli instead so you can't get Ho-Ho, you could just get Lingsha in the next patch because she is also a 5-star abundance unit. So we'll talk more about that a little bit towards the end of the video. But yeah, she's a really, really good character, and I expect both these characters to be pretty good. But just if you want a DPS, you can pull Yunli. If you want a sustain unit, you can pull Ho-Ho. Because I always recommend you get 2 premium sustains, and I think that's pretty good for your account, because you have to have 2 teams for all the endgame content. Moving on to the second banner, I'm heavily biased, but I think Sparkle is the best character that is on banner this patch. The 3 most broken units in the game are all 3 Harmony units, I think, honestly. Like, I know people talk about, like, Acheron, or, like, even, like, the 2 break DPSs can be really broken, ironically. But realistically, like, Ruan Mei, Robin, and Sparkle are so goddamn busted And you need to have at least one of them, right? I have 2 of them. I have Ruan Mei and I have Sparkle. I mean, it is good for your account to have all 3 of them because they're all really, really good, and there are always going to be teams where one of them is the best, but someone else can be good, and plus, you know, you have to have multiple teams anyway. So I think Sparkle is really good. She gives you a bunch of free crit damage. She gives you action advance. She gives you free skill points on her ult, and just damage bonus as well. She's really, really good. So if you didn't get her in her first run, I think she's a really good pickup here. I mean, probably one of the best rerun characters there is. I mean, we just have Ruan Mei, who is probably the best rerun character. Sparkle is just as busted in some teams. Obviously, Ruan Mei is, you know, better when you have multiple DPS units or you're doing a break team. But if you're doing a hyper carry team, if you're running Mono Quantum with QQ, if you're running Dan Heng 2 Imaginary Boogaloo, or if you're running any kind of hyper carry team, even like, you know, Jingyuan as well, you can use Sparkle, and Sparkle is going to be really busted, make you do a bunch more damage, and give you free skill points. So I think she's really good, and I would recommend pulling her if you want to pull somebody this patch, but you're not really sold on either of the 2 new characters. Sparkle is a fantastic character to pick up that'll always be good for your account. Now let's talk about the last character here. It's Mr. Flaming Soup Man. We got old Flamin' Nihility boy here, who is a fox and a man. A fox man, if you will. He's really good if you have Acheron. Anyway, moving on. No, I'm kidding, but I mean, that's kind of true, right? He's kind of been marketed online, for the most part, as being Acheron support, which is kind of his thing. You know, Acheron wants you to apply a bunch of debuffs. He applies a bunch of debuffs. His light cone's pretty good just because it gives a bunch of effect hit rate. You know, a lot of people want effect hit rate, so that's pretty good. Sparkle's light cone, I guess I'll mention that, is really, really good on her. It gives you a bunch of free crit, and it, you know, the problem with the rest of her passive is that you need to generate a bunch of skill points to activate it, and people that aren't Sparkle aren't really going to be able to do that. But it's really, really good on her. It makes her Sparkle even better. But even at E0 with no light cone, Sparkle's still going to give you a whole bunch of value, so don't feel like you have to pull that. But once again, going back to Mr. Flamin' Soup Man here, if you have Acheron, he's going to be, you know, technically speaking, a best-in-slot support for her. He's also just, you know, he's a debuffer, so, I mean, that's never bad. I mean, if a character just makes the enemies take more damage, that's always going to be a good thing. So, I mean, you can pull them, and especially, like, once again, if you like any of these units, if you like Mr. Soup Man, if you like Sparkle like I do, if you like Yunli, or if you like Woho, just pull them, because you should always just pull whoever you want. But, once again, just kind of in review, the only DPS you're going to be able to get this patch is Yunli, so if you need a new DPS, she's the pick. If you really need a sustain unit, like you don't have 2 premium sustains already, or you're having trouble keeping your team alive with the sustains you have, maybe get Woho, because she's a really good healer. And if you have Acheron, you should probably pull Mr. Soup Man, and if you just really want a busted unit, pull Sparkle. It's really kind of convenient, because none of these people are really competing at all with each other, because you have a debuffer, a buffer, a healer, and a DPS running, so it's not like you have to be like, well, this DPS is running on phase 1, and this one's running on phase 2, so you can get this one or that one. There's none of that, because it's 4 characters that do completely different things, so whoever is the most valuable to your account on this banner completely depends on who you have and who you're building for. Because, I mean, if you're building Acheron, these are both, like, Acheron's best-in-slot team probably has both of these characters on it, I would imagine, because Sparkle is also really good for Acheron, despite the fact that Sparkle doesn't do debuffs. It's because Acheron is a hyper-carry unit, and most hyper-carry units really like having Sparkle. So, I mean, these 4 characters all do different things, so whichever kind of role you're needing to fill in your team, you can find a unit this patch that will fill that role, and that's pretty convenient. The 4 stars, we don't really have to talk about all that much. We can go ahead and run through them real quick. I don't remember what Hanya does, so that's not good. I think she's good. Like, I don't think she's bad at all. I just think that the problem with 4-star Harmony units is that the 5-star Harmony units are so goddamn broken that I think most of us just kind of forget what a lot of them do. Yukong's actually, like, Yukong is another 4-star Harmony unit, but actually I've used her before, and I think she's pretty fun. I like her kit. She does some pretty good buffs. Now you have to figure out with the stacks for her buff. So sometimes it's weird with how your team has to have the right speed tiers to make sure the right units are getting to use her buffs. But that's whatever. You can use her if you want. Lynx is a really good, just free to play sustain. So if you're not pulling Woho and you need a sustain, you already have a copy of Lynx because she's free. I don't remember what you have to do to get your free Lynx, but I'm pretty positive you get a free Lynx still. I think. I know I got a free Lynx, so you can probably still get one, I imagine. Anyway, you can probably just get extra copies of her. She's a pretty good sustain. She can keep your team alive, so if you're not getting Ho-Ho, you can get a free Lynx. Get a couple copies here and there, and make your Lynx even better. And then here, Arlen sucks. You shouldn't use him. Hook, is better than Arlen, I think, but also isn't really good. Gwenhyphen is pretty good. I mean, if you're doing like Dot. I've never built Dot, I'm going to be honest with you. That is one of the archetypes I've never really messed with. So I can't really tell you much about that, but she's a fine character. I don't think the 4-stars here are super high value. Like, you know, Gallagher was on, like, Firefly's banner, and he was a really good one just because, you know, his role as a break support sustain unit hasn't really been filled yet by a 5-star. Funnily enough, that's not going to be the case after next patch. So I can kind of talk about that now, I guess. Because I'm not pulling anything this patch, and it's because I'm waiting for Lingsha and Fei Zhao, who are going to be in 2.5, the next patch. So that's why I'm not pulling this patch, and you can do the same if you want. But like I said, all 4 of these, there's a case to make, depending on what your account needs, to pull any of these 4 characters available this patch. But Lingsha is going to be a really good healer. So once again, if you want to sustain, you don't want Ho-Ho, you can pull Lingsha. And Fei Zhao, if you want a DPS and you don't want Yun Li, you can save this patch and pull Fei Zhao. And Fei Zhao, by the way, she's probably going to be broken. It's just going to tell you, she's probably going to be broken. So that's basically what I have to say. There are 4 characters in this patch that fulfill completely different roles. So if you want a DPS, if you want a healer, if you want Acheron support, if you want a buffer, there's somebody for you no matter what. So that's basically all I have to say. Once again, Lingsha is really hot.